Hello, and thank you for joining us for devotionals on this All Hallows Eve, the day before All Saints' Day, when during our worship we'll remember together those who have gone before us from the community of faith and the hope of resurrection that we have and that we share because of Jesus, the Messiah. Now, while I'm tempted to take today's devotional to talk more about that, about the power of God that allows us to face our fear, to face the unknown, I'm going to save that for this afternoon, actually, at our parking lot costume parade. So stop by if you can. We'll be social distancing, but we're still going to have a great time. Today's scripture reminds me of a story that's etched into my mind from when I was working as summer staff at the Green Lake Conference Center up in Wisconsin. I was just out of high school, which was a bit ago, I'm kind of forced to admit. Well, one evening, a bunch of us were around a campfire and we were cooking bratwurst, as folks in Wisconsin are wont to do. But for me, I had never cooked a bratwurst before that way, but I figured it's got to be like roasting a hot dog, right? More or less. So I had my brat on a skewer and had it right over the coals, rotating it, and oh, did it look glorious. That toasty color, a little bit of char on the outside, looked perfect. Put it in a bun with some mustard. Now, I wasn't quite up to the whole sauerkraut level of being a Wisconsinite just yet, and so all done. Looked great. Except when I went to take a bite, the only thing that was done was the skin. It was stone cold raw on the inside, and that's not a pleasant thing for bratwurst. Ugh. It's something that actually has a lot to do with, at least in my mind, the scripture today. As Jesus had some pointed things to say in Matthew chapter 23, verses 25 through 28, when he's talking about the Pharisees, people who were known for their piety, were known for their religiosity. And here's what he says: "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you clean the outside of the cup and the plate, but inside they're full of greed and self-indulgence. You blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup, so that the outside may also become clean. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which on the outside look beautiful, but on the inside they are full of the bones of the dead and all kinds of filth. So you also on the outside look righteous to others, but inside you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness." In Judaism, the Torah has a lot to say. Our Old Testament has a lot to say about avoiding things that are unclean, a kind of a contamination that separates us from a holy God. And on a positive side, keeps us from taking God for granted, treating God as if God's just something under our control. And the Pharisees worked hard at trying to attain that kind of a purity in their actions and in how they went about their daily lives. And they had a special way of washing their dishes to avoid them being contaminated. They'd go out of their way to avoid anything dead, whether it be a poor gnat that would drown in their tea, or someone like the man in the story on the road to Jericho who got robbed and was left for dead on the side of the road. And what Jesus is saying here is that for all their attention in trying to present an outward appearance of having it together and pursuing that, I mean, let's give them the credit for that, of genuinely trying to pursue what they understood to be holy and to attain that, Jesus was saying they've kind of missed the point. Even though they looked like they had it all together, they had the appearance of being spiritual, the real problem is in here. It's in the heart. Jesus names it. He talks about greed and self-indulgence and hypocrisy and lawlessness, which is a really wild accusation, because if anybody was known for being sticklers for the law, for the rules, it was these folks. But before we start shaking our heads at the Pharisees, it's worth asking how much time we invest in our own image management, trying to present the best image. Right now, as I record this, it's a Friday night, and I'm sitting in front of the camera, and I put on a nicer shirt than I spent on my day off. And, okay, there's a degree to which we do those kinds of things. But Jesus is reminding us the image that we present is not really what matters. It's not the essence of it. And it's not where our righteousness lies. And it's bad enough when we get caught up in trying to cultivate the image of this kind of perfect Instagram perception of a put together life, the perfect, not just perfect appearance, but having the right things, having the right connections, all of that kind of stuff. Wanting folks to see us a certain way, maybe out of the fear that if they saw who we really were, they might not like us, they might shun us, or might not think we were worthy. And as bad as that fear is, it's worse when we get caught up trying to live that out in our relationship with God. When we treat God that way, when we hide from our true selves, sometimes even in our own self, not understanding what we're doing or where we're at. Trying to live out an image of righteousness without seeking the grace of God through which we actually become righteous. And what I mean is, being a Christian doesn't look like brand loyalty. It's not in the t-shirts, it's not in the voting patterns or the slogans or trying to fit in with popular Christian culture. It's about responding to the grace of God that meets us where we are and which calls us into a new life, a new way of being. It's in the desire to be made clean, to be healed, to experience the salvation that Jesus offers us. Paying attention to the inside so that we understand what on the outside really does matter. Jesus had this image, and I think we talked about it a little bit before when Jesus says, "You'll know the good teachers from the false teachers by the fruit of their actions." What comes out of their lives? And he talked about that in a number of different ways. He'd say, "You'd know a tree by its fruit." He said the problem isn't what goes into our mouths, but what comes out of them, because it reveals what's going on inside. So may that be our commitment today, to reflect on that. Say, where are we trying to pay a lot more attention to how people see us than to what's actually going on in here and how God sees us and where God is calling us into in a deeper life. Now, before I go, I do want to offer a quick heads up that we're going to be trying something a little bit different starting in November. This is going to be the last of this kind of devotional for a while, where we're following the lectionary and putting them out early in the morning. What we're going to try is something a little bit different for the month of November, and then again, different in the season of Advent. But for November, what we're going to do, and I'd like to invite everyone to join us in this, is reading through the Gospel of John chapter by chapter. Each day, Monday through Saturday, we'll read one more chapter of John together. And obviously you don't need the videos for that, but we're going to read them out on a video and post that, and we'll post it at noon. And if you have a lunch break, you have an opportunity over noon to just check in, you want to do that together, we'll watch the video together. And those who want to, we can chat about it, share prayer requests, all of that good stuff. Share maybe what God puts on your heart as you hear the scripture. But the goal by the end of the end of November, that together we read through this gospel and allow it to soak into our hearts and prepare us for the season of Advent as we look forward to celebrating not only Jesus' birth, but looking ahead to God's deeper purposes in creation, the time when there will be a new heaven and a new earth. May God bless you and be with you on the journey. Take care.